It's happening. Mask mandates are officially back. Morris Brown College in Atlanta, Georgia announced yesterday that it's reinstating its mask mandate for everybody on campus, including students and employees. As of now, the face mask mandate will be in place for the next just 14 days as a, quote, precautionary move. According to Atlanta's WSB-TV, the school began fall semester classes last week, and officials say there have been no confirmed cases of COVID-19 among the students, but they have received reports from other schools in the Atlanta University Center, which consist of court universities.
Morris Brown College will also perform temperature checks when individuals arrive on campus and will enforce social distancing and contact tracing. The school also does have a vaccination requirement with religious and medical exemptions permitted. And they're not the only ones bringing back COVID protocols. The Hollywood studio Lionsgate sent an email to staff asking them to mask up on certain floors after several employees recently tested positive for COVID in the new EG5 variant as it rises across the state, according to Hollywood Reporter. The studio was also asking employees to self-screen before coming into the office.
So many campuses have continued to have vaccine mandates. Rutgers University is going to require kids to get the latest booster, which right now they don't even have the booster out. They're going to debut a booster that it is dealing with the variant we have right now, but right now the bivalent booster isn't geared to that at all, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Many other campuses are. Last I checked, the University of Michigan, where I attended school, had the same vax policy in place. I guess they could have changed it since last I checked. So there was a lot of that. This is, to my mind, this might be the first university in the country, or one of the first at least, to bring back a mask mandate for any period of time. They're saying it's just going to be 14 days as a precautionary measure, and they're going to do all this stuff, the temperature checks, the social distancing. I mean, they're about the only, schools, universities are about the only place, I think, where you have a population that is sort of rule-abiding enough to stomach such a thing, or what can people do but complain about it? So I'm not expecting these to make a comeback elsewhere. It seems like the society-level desire to comply with these kinds of things is totally over, but I've misread the situation before, so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a lot of organic kind of campus-based outrage. I do think, this is a HBCU. I think has always been a sensitivity among Black communities where we saw disproportionate numbers of COVID deaths to want to be compliant, to keep people around us from getting sick and dying. There's a lot of hubbub on the Twitter among people who are frustrated with COVID policies, where they often point out that a celebrity at an event will be unmasked while the servants are masked. And my observation, I would frame that a little bit differently, is that I've noticed that a lot of Black and Latino people, perhaps because of having to work or disproportionately working in service industries and being exposed to people on the job without being able to work from home, et cetera, have been more persistent maskers in my observation, because they want to protect themselves.
My casual observation is that actually Asian American people are the most.
Well, I didn't say the most. I just am talking about this because we're talking about a HBCU who has been disproportionately, in my observation, masking. So, if the students there are unhappy with it and push back, I expect they'll make their voices known. But it also could be the case that this is a policy that's been put into effect in part because of some organic campus-based desire to try to guard against what has been an increased incidence in hospitalizations in Atlanta that's up, Georgia, that's up 30% across the state.
It's not like it's illegal to, you can wear a mask to protect yourself if you want. You've said, I think, that you think that the high quality mask, and by the way, is this a requirement to wear the high quality mask? Because everyone has concluded that, wearing the kinds of masks most people wearing for most of the pandemic, that was just wear any mask, don't do virtually anything
to
prevent.
Yeah, it doesn't specify the email,
so we're not
at least doesn't specify the kind of mask, which I think is a misstep.
If you want to wear a high quality mask, I don't know whether this science or the studies will hold up in the long term, but there have been findings that these do a very good job at protecting you from infection, so you can wear it. Hasn't our understanding of COVID by now progressed to the point where, correct me if you think I'm wrong, I think our understanding is that it is the case that you're most likely to be particularly extremely infectious while you're symptomatic. So maybe some kind of broader mandate to, stay the F at home or indoors or by yourself if you're feeling under the weather at all would be, I think, the most useful thing to do, rather than, just as a preventative policy requiring everyone to wear masks all the time when they go out would be how I would approach things. Empower people to not stay home, don't work, don't go to school if you're not feeling well, and everyone can wear a mask if they want. But I think it's asking too much at this point to
that is part of the policy. So according to this policy email that was sent out on August 20th, all students and employees are required to wear face masks, although staff may remove their masks while alone in their offices. Physical distancing is a part of this, saying that large gatherings should follow institutional guidelines, that there will be no parties or large student events on campus for the next 2 weeks. Isolation and quarantine, students must adhere to institutional policies and CDC guidelines for isolation and quarantine, presumably once you do test positive. Mm-hmm. I think importantly, the contact tracing is something that I think has the lowest kind of civil liberties implications and the most likelihood of doing some good. To your point, knowing that you're actually positive and then being able to make an informed choice to stay home because you know that you can actually spread the virus is, I think, the best tailored to have good outcomes policy intervention. You're also recommending regular hand washing was the last point on this list. So I think much of this is unobjectionable from my perspective, and also seems to be short-term and tailored toward what they expect to be a sudden spike at the beginning of the school year while there's spikes in the state, and trying to get people to not come into college and immediately have mass outages, mass super spreader events and things like that, and a lot of the students staying home. And I'd be interested to know more about why they're choosing to make this choice at this time.
Well, I mean, there's going to be an uptick every year around now. That's what's happened every year for the past 3.
Why in August?
Because more people are just more social over the course of the summer, and actually because of the hot weather. Summer. Well, I mean, it builds up over time, right? I mean, that's what's happened every year for the whole pandemic. There's been spikes DC brought it back, its mask mandate. If you recall, was that last 2 years? It's all straight. It was around now. I think it was last year. Might have been.
There was no mask mandate last year.
It got brought back. Maybe it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, sure. There were all kinds of mandates.
My point was that it got brought back in the July-August time period.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, you know what my feelings are. At this point, we're going to have spikes. We're going to have cases. The disease is very infectious. Thankfully, a lot of people, in fact, most people on planet Earth have some level of protection to COVID, and the very at risk are still at risk, and they and everyone else should take whatever precautions you want to take. I think I don't have much appetite, and I think most other people don't have much appetite, especially given just all the the promises of here's how we'll shut down cases, here's how we'll stop spread. It was just wrong over and over again. That we have these little, we think we can control our environment, and this was just a really horrible and difficult thing to contend with that hit us all, and everyone has done the best they can, but it's something we have to live with, just like we live with the flu and other sicknesses. And people should, if you want to, I'm going to get my flu vaccine and probably my next booster too. And if you want to do that, that's good for you, and you don't have to. But if you want to, you should. You should talk to an expert about it. And if you want to wear a mask, you can do that, and all those other things. I just think it should be at the level of voluntary compliance.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about going to these schools. I mean, the standard is, if, as is the case in West Virginia, a kind of conservative state leadership wants to cut the humanities and decimate programs, that is what it is. They're allowed to do that. You're allowed to prevent race and gender studies in Florida. If they want to do that, they want to do that. And if this HBCU wants to impose a mask mandate, they can do that. Or when everyone's just going to have to sit in their corners being outraged. I mean,
I don't think I said they don't have the right to do it. It's their campus. They can organize.
Outrage. Everyone's very, very mad, and the world is marching toward progress.
I mean, I would not be happy about it if I was a student there, but I'm not a student there, so they can do whatever they want. But I will be very unhappy with it if it comes to a municipality where I am, like the city of D.C. But we shall see if that moment comes. I don't know if Mayor Bowser has any social gatherings. She likes to schedule the return of the mask mandate for as soon as her birthday party is over, as she did last time. So we'll see if we'll have to check our calendar to see what kind of quarantine procedures we'll all have to live under. More Rising right after this.